now we are online. So, good morning. I will speak first in English. Afterwards, I will make a brief presentation in Portuguese for our students and colleagues and lawyers and researchers. Good morning for being with us on November the 13th. It's a pleasure for us to organize an academic conference related to artificial intelligence and how it's developed, how it's understood by society, by the universities, by enterprises. And this conference will be divided into two parts. The first part today, it will be 100% online, and it will be with researchers and professors from Europe and from the United States. This first presentation will be uh, mediated by Felipe. Felipe is a PhD student of economics in São Paulo, and he has also done his master studies at IDC in Israel, and he has worked in many assets and also has an international experience by attending several meetings of the IMF in the United States for a long period of time. Then I will just make a brief presentation also in Portuguese in order for someone that didn't understand what I just said. Bom dia a todos. Isso vai ser uma conferência acadêmica em 2 dias sobre inteligência artificial, hoje online e amanhã presencial na Justiça Federal. Será sobre inteligência artificial, hoje basicamente com pesquisadores e professores dos Estados Unidos. What I just said is that tomorrow we are going to have a presential conference at the Federal Justice in Rio de Janeiro with Brazilian researchers, with many other people from the academic and also from the Brazilian Patent Office. And I just would like to thank you, the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, for supporting us, and also the Federal Justice of Court of Rio de Janeiro, and of course the Brazilian Patent and Trademark Office. So let us start our first presentation. It is about AI, university, and management accountability. Felipe, please, you have your flow.
Okay.
And I would suggest while one is presenting that we turn our micros off. Thank you very much.
Yes, that's always a good reminder. Thank you, Ricardo, for the presentations and the kind words. I'm happy to be here and mediate this first panel on artificial intelligence, university, and management accountability. This first panel through different time zones and also through different climates. As I understand from Matthias, at least, he showed us how it was snowing outside in Mainz, and here in São Paulo, at least, we got a little bit of hot weather. But I mean, that's what technology is making, is possibilitating at this time of at this stage. We can perform meetings such as this over very large distances, and in order to proceed almost directly to the topic at hand, I do believe that there's a relevant issue to be discussed here, meaning that artificial intelligence is obviously a relevant topic for discussion in universities, how to adopt, how to cope, how to use new technologies, and how mainly to track the good outcomes that technologies might bring to us, and also the bad outcomes that technology might bring to us. I believe that similar discussions have taken place when the internet was first used in an academic environment, or when fax machines were first used, or perhaps also when encyclopedias were first being compiled over 500 years ago. Perhaps there were people discussing not the same topic, but at least the same issues or similar issues at least, as we are going to discuss now. Now, without further ado, and given that we are a quarter before 10 and we would like to jump right into our discussions, I would like to ask Professor Matthias Eickhoff to start the presentation. Professor Eickhoff is from Mainz. Afterwards, we are going to follow up with Professor Magot from Poznan, and then finish and wrap up with Professor Thomas from Wroclaw. And if time permits, we will have a bit of a Q&A or at least a bit of discussion in the end of this panel, but every panelist will have around 25 to 30 minutes of presentation. So Professor Matthias, I'll mute myself here and you're free to go and to share your presentation.
Well, thank you very much, Philippa. I'm just hoping now to get my presentation on your screens, but it is not yet working, obviously. Apologies. There
it is.
Yeah. You can see it? Okay. It is a little bit strange because something has moved in the presentation. Anyway, I don't want to complain about that. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here to talk about AI, university and management accountability. And as you see, something looks out of that behind some white box. Well, this is, apologies. This is not as it should be. Well, there was a quote which I took as a second headline. The quote is, the world market has a potential of 5 computers. And Philippa has already mentioned there have been resistances. Come back to this later on again. Well, first of all, my presentation is not dealing with AI technology. I have no idea about AI technology, nor with the actual movements about Sam Altman at ChatGPT. It is not based on digitalization or expertise. I'm not such an expert. I'm trying to understand the contextual framework. It is not a scientific paper, but built on discussion and experience. Not a comprehensive program, but a loose collection of thoughts, and also, well, just an invitation to perhaps cross faculty or discipline borders to look at something different, something new. Well, how to move on? This is the way. Okay. Yeah, it's the animation doesn't work. Anyway, apologies for that, but let us just go through. When I was thinking about the agenda, what to talk about, I had no idea because I'm not a specialist. And so I thought I'd go to ask somebody who has some more knowledge about that. And I asked ChatGPT. And what you see below these yellow box over here, this is a very comprehensive answer which I received from ChatGPT. Very impressive. And if you are interested in the slides, this is all in the appendix, and you can read all the details. Then, being impressed about that, I asked a second question: what do you suggest as a TOC for a 30-minute presentation? Well, this is what I got. Very comprehensive, again, even indicating how long I should talk about what, and even at the end giving recommendations to think about the relevant audience, etc., etc. Even though I was very impressed about ChatGPT, I must admit, and this is what you find in the yellow box then, I probably would have received a very similar answer if I would have asked for the topic International Product Launch Focusing Transportation Technology in Medieval Times. And so I thought, let's not go for this topic then, but let's have a different approach. And this is what I would like to do here. Think about some basic innovations in business and how this make people successful, because this is what we have seen before, and this is what we will see again in the near future. I would like to integrate this with the challenge of change, which gives us a breeding ground for AI. Make a few words on what universities are doing and why it is relevant, and then talk about the why, the how, and the what as an answer on how this is organized in German universities, plus some summarizing remarks. Well, first of all, I'm going back into the history of mankind up to a time when our ancestors have just been climbing down from the trees and starting to walk upright. They discovered they had different talents. What was the consequence? Division of labor. And division of labor led into the emergence of trade. First of all, local trade, and over the centuries, really, then going into the state as a trade factor, into international trade. And this was what making people successful for many, many years. With the invention of the steam engine, then, we had the basis for the industrialization. Mass production, mass manufacturing, completely new world, new problems, new solutions, new challenges, and a lot of success. But the concept of industrialization was so successful that it made itself obsolete, because it led us into saturated market. People didn't buy on their own. We needed to invent marketing and strengthen sales, etc., like that. So like these two basic innovations here, we are looking now into a future which is very much in the same influencing our development. And this is about digitalization, or how I like to call it, the universe. You see this guy walking along here, coming out of this certainty, the clear and certain world of industrialized societies, economies, then moving somewhere into a little bit more complex, maybe market-oriented, a little bit more uncertainty, but not so much. And what you see at the right-hand side, then, this is what is expecting us in the age of digitalization. Highly complex, highly ambiguous, etc., etc. And in this world, we have to move around and to understand the new possibilities and the new options and the new problems as well. Okay, now the slide is missing. Okay, I have to do that without the picture which you should see here on the left side. It's very, very simple, talking about change, the different types of change. We have 3 different types of change, and we have different evidence for that. First of all, we have secure change. If you're driving with your car, you're pressing the brake, you can be sure that the car is slowing down unless there is some damage or something. The second category is a type of change which we have in the world of marketing. So where we do not have this type of certainty, if we are increasing our advertising budget, we do not know whether our customers are seeing that at all, if they might change their purchasing behavior or not. So this is the second category. And in both 2 categories above this red line, which you see over here, we have a situation where we can somehow predict the future because we have certainty, or at least some probability. And the last category of change is open change. And in the field of open change, we have no idea what might happen, well, how to prepare. We need a completely new idea how to behave in such a surrounding of open change. Now should appear this evidence, which I've already talked about this world of machines, of computers, described by a guy whom you all know, Sir Isaac Newton, talking about the determinism of the natural sciences, then this world of marketing. And, well, it is not just a mere academic differentiation, it has practical relevance, a lot of practical relevance, because think about the climate change. This is an example for open change. Think about the Fukushima reactor meltdown in Japan, caused by an earthquake, which has never ever happened before in this strength, and a tsunami, which has never happened before in this strength. So it was not predictable. And the same situation happens if we are talking about digitalization. So this is why change is such a big challenge for us. So then let's look at the breeding ground here of universities. How does all this affect universities? I think I try to reduce universities onto basically 4 categories, because the university is, first of all, an administrative organization. So AI certainly will develop some administrative instruments here, and we need an administrative perspective to understand it and the effect which it will have on universities. Second one, universities have an educational goal. No matter whether they are public universities or private universities, this is what everybody's expecting from them. Students on the one side, lecturers on the other side as well, companies outside. This is about the educational outcome of what the university does. And the university is producing, creating, collecting, storing, and distributing knowledge. So it is about research and teaching tools, which are in the focus of this third category. Last not least, The university is also a part of society. That means it is responsible for what it does and as well for what it does not. So that means we also should take a perspective here in terms of ethics or regulation on AI and its effect on universities. So then, in the next we can move then into the why, first of all. And this is the point when I come to make a few remarks on the specific situation in Germany, because Germany is a federal state, or is composed out of 16 federal states, which are completely autonomous in the area of cultural and educational affairs, including the responsibility for universities. So we do not just have one central decider, we have 16 deciders, and they are cooperating, but not necessarily always into the same direction. On the other hand, Germany is also embedded in the EU, as the other countries as well. So we are also moving in this framework for technological policies, digitalization, etc. Then we have this situational change in the surrounding of the universities, this VUCA world being volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And this is setting the challenge, how we should move. Well, and then the consequence by that, the National German Federal Ministry of Education, which we still have, despite the 16 federal states, they recognized digitalization as the core challenge for our future. And well, how do they do that? If you look at this chart, you can see that 11 specific areas of action have been identified here by the ministry. And all the ones which you see in blue in these charts are more or less directly affecting universities. So it is obviously a very great topic, and many of the areas of attention here are relevant for us. So this is about the why. The next is then moving into the how, 3 steps to success. Well, if I would ask which 3 steps to success, what would you suggest? My suggestion is fairly simple. It just says try, try, and try. Because if we are honest, even talking to specialists in digitalization, in artificial intelligence, nobody really has a solution today which we can positively describe. We have many approaches which you can observe. Many tests have been made, many things have been done. We had a lot of failure in this area, and this is nothing bad, because this is the only way we can learn in this field, learning from failure, which is not, to be honest, a typical German strength. And as I was asked to talk about Germany, I definitely wanted to make this remark here. This is one of our biggest challenges, learning from failure and accept that we need to do something which we cannot really determine, where we are out of control. German people, probably more than many others in Europe, like to have control over what they do. So the message out of that is knowledge is not key anymore for success, but learning is. And there's a big difference between knowledge and learning. And this is what we need to accept and to understand. And I come again to the world market has a potential of 5 computers. Well, why? First of all, behind this graph on the right side, there is again the answer of ChatGPT, which shows the limits of ChatGPT, because ChatGPT, let me just translate it like that, it really protests. It says, no, the world market is much bigger, and probably there is a mistake in the question you ask. No, it was not a mistake in the question I asked, because it was a quote from somebody. And you have an idea who this Thomas J. Watson was? It's not the Dr. Watson of Sherlock Holmes. I would say, okay, that's okay. If he doesn't know much about this, that's okay. No, but this guy here, he is a specialist in the field of computing. He is a business person. He is the former CEO of Big Blue, IBM. And he said the world market has a potential of 5 computers. And this is just one example for what Philippe has already mentioned before. There have been resistances against new developments all the time. That's not a new invention. But in this case here, it gives us the opportunity to have a look at the graph on the right side now, which shows us why this is so complicated. If you look at the different approaches to learning, starting from the central role of the teacher, this is described in a theory which is described here, denominated as behaviorism. And over the years, the role of the teacher has already changed, becoming a tutor, becoming a coach, cognitivism, constructivism. And the next step now, this is this connectivism, which is coming up. And that changes fundamentally, again, the role of the former teacher into, well, somebody who is mentoring the processes, moving on the same level, and from that developing new ideas. And this is why we have to be aware of these upcoming changes and problems over here. I would like to give you one more example to show how big this problem is. And well, a very big pity, because I had wanted to ask what you think. Who said that? Talking about it. And well, now you already see it. Plato said, the Greek philosopher, he said, it makes dull, it turns people dependent, unable to act, supports superficial knowledge, and thus embodies the danger to let important information get into the hands of unauthorized people. How that? How can an intelligent person say something like that? Very simple. He was referring to the public introduction of the culture of writing, and it was his privilege to be one of the few people in these days who was able to read and write. So he was just fearing to lose his privilege. And it was centuries later that Machiavelli, whom you certainly all know as well, explained the reason for that, of these resistances, in the fear of losing the privileges, of the fear of losing money, of being less important, of having to adapt, etc., etc. So this is what we need to be aware when we're talking about the new impact, new influences here in the universities, because this is something which we will have to face and we'll have to deal with. So still, I'm quite positive that this will be a success story at the end. Why am I so positive? Just thinking back to, well, COVID. You remember COVID? Just shortly passed. And I've been in, together with Thomas, for example, here in a project on blended learning for a number of years. And we have struggled to improve our technologies which we can use to get more money for that, get a video conferencing system. The answer was always very short and simple, and it was, no, we don't have any money. And then came COVID. And within one afternoon, to be honest, it was no problem anymore. We had access to everything. We got access to Zoom. Everything was bought. Everything was done. And we just had this effect. And I'm very grateful to COVID for that, only for that, to be honest. But very grateful for that COVID really helped us to leapfrog these blended learning offers and to get right into new possibilities, as they are now supported by generative AI. And this is why I say generative AI will really form the background for the future of learning. This is why I'm basically positive here to use it. If we do not try to avoid it, if we're not trying to keep students away, and this is what we can still observe in some universities, in some settings, regarding the sensitiveness of exams, etc. Things like a lot of discussions about that, and for good reasons. But still, the better recipe is to become a promoter and to become a co-developer, and to accept that we need to learn something new and that we need to unlearn in the same context, and then also actively pursue the goal to develop an ethical basis for that and a regulatory basis, which, as far as I see, is actually very much discussed also on the level of the European Union. Anyway, so from my point of view, a positive perspective if we manage to push it forward together and find examples for that. Again, what I did was, well, not a surprise anymore now, I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT again gave me a comprehensive list of possible things what could be done in order to use artificial intelligence in universities. But you cannot fully now read the text here. But anyway, it also says this is just fictional. None of that was reality. And I got the same answer when I was asking for best practice examples. Again, a long list of examples, and you find all this in the appendix if you like to look at it in greater detail, or you can ask yourself. It is, again, just fictional. But I didn't just want to present you something fictional, but also something real. And so I continued to my search, and I found this video here on YouTube. This is answering the question. Apologies, this is all in German here. The question is, can I write my final bachelor thesis just in 3 days with the help of ChatGPT? And the lady here, she had already written her bachelor thesis, and she was trying to answer the question with the help about the same topic, with the help of an AI specialist who gave her a lot of tips how to deal with artificial intelligence. And then finally, after these 3 days, she handed it in at a university. They were prepared, but they judged it according to the traditional criteria, which they always used. Well, and they failed. For a simple reason. For example, the first book, which was in the literature list, it didn't even exist, and more things like that. Yeah. So we need to be warned about the limits here as well. So I'm not just blindly trying to promote it, but also looking very much at the limits. On the right-hand side, also on the same, in context with the same YouTube video, you find 966 comments from students about their experience with the use of artificial intelligence in their studies. And if you're interested in greater detail, I very much recommend to read these comments as well. They are all in German, but, well, translating is not a problem, thanks artificial intelligence. Okay, so if you are looking out today, in every newspaper and every magazine, we are confronted with AI factually every day in Germany. We have this ad on the left-hand side here to use AR and VR tools in engineering education. We have this handout, which you see on the right-hand side, which is from our university, for example, for the colleagues, a handout how to use ChatGPT in the context of universities. What you cannot see now behind this yellow box over here is there are 3 things. First of all, another course how to use AI in the research context, also at our university. There was a colleague in another university here making a self-rehearsal using AI in his teaching. And there was also an example from the daily newspaper how AI could be used. Well, possible benefits, I just listed a few: competence development, sparring partner, individualized learning. I think this is a very strong one. It also helps to pre-structure, etc., etc., etc. At the end of the list, you see 3 dots, and I think these is the most important part of this yellow box, because it indicates the list is not comprehensive, it's not finished. It will continue. There will be more things to discover in the future. So we have a bundle of activities here which are taking place with more or less success. But as I said, the important thing is to do it, go down that road and try to learn as quick as possible. Fail fast, learn fast. This is, in my opinion, the best recipe for the future. I also want to give you some example here, which I think could be a best practice example. It's an example of a colleague who is working at the University of Applied Sciences in Deggendorf, which is the south of Germany. That's not really important, but he's a specialist in artificial intelligence, and he's also consulting governments in Germany, Austria, and other countries, as you can read on the right side. And he actively uses even in final exams. He invites, not only he prescribes his students to use generative AI tools, but he does that in a framework which he sets. And this is quoted from an article here from a newspaper, which you will also find in the literature list if you want to read it completely. I apologize, the complete article is in German, but the this part here is easier than it is in English as well. So I think proceeding like that, in my opinion, shows a good way how we can deal with AI in the universities. Trying to learn with AI, develop it into the future as far as we can, and be prepared that not everything is only just positive. Yeah, coming to an end, I just want to quote 2 people here in the summarizing remarks. First of all, Pero Micic, he is the CEO of the Future Management Group, a consulting company in future management, and also internationally known as a future specialist. And he points out that human ingenuity and human intelligence is not just based on cognition, but it's very much on emotional capability, social, etc., etc. Still, he doesn't deny that all the changes which we can observe here are the fastest, presenting the fastest wave of disruption that we've ever experienced. So we need to take it very serious. On the other hand, Edward de Bono, psychologist, cognition scientist, and one of the famous guy in the field of creativity, he developed a methodology of creativity, the 5 hats, in case you have heard about that. And he also worked out the distinction between our traditional analytical thinking, and this is what we normally teach at university, and what ChatGPT and the artificial intelligence is also learning very quickly. This is how to get through this labyrinth, analyze, and then you will do. Edward de Bono would take another way. He would use lateral thinking and say, okay, why try to get through? Let's just walk around, see what the problem really is. And I think as that not every solution, it's not always possible just to take this different perspective. But this is a great possibility which we as human beings have, where I still at the moment see tremendous advantages which we have compared to AI, to computers, etc. Well, this is the end of my presentation. I hope to, I stood somehow in the time afterwards just to show well, one more chart. Again, I asked ChatGPT. Hope you enjoyed the presentation. ChatGPT would have enjoyed it if it's relevant, engaging, and interactive. It was not so much interactive, but anyway, I thank you for your interest. And afterwards, here you find sources and appendix where you can look up all the other things. Thank you for that. Thank you for listening. And I'm very much looking forward to any question if you like.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you for the presentation. Just before we move on to Professor Matsuda, I'd like to link an issue that came up at the beginning of your presentation with an issue that came up in the end of your presentation, and which I linked to my research field of macroeconomics, which is the 3 types of change that you mentioned right in the beginning, together with the issue of disruption, which interestingly for a presentation on AI came up rather to the end of the presentation as a more present concept. And the issue with perhaps with universities that I would like to point out and put also as a discussion topic further on is that, at least in terms of macroeconomics and probably in terms of other social sciences as well, we are very used to think regarding steady states, which is what are steady states. Yeah. We do know what the beginning is, we do know what the ending is, and perhaps there's some sort of disruption in between point A and point B, but those are steady and those are fixed. The human mind is very incapable of thinking in non-linear terms, meaning that perhaps you exit point A and you arrive at point B, but point B does not have anything in common with point A. And perhaps we are in one of the sleeping moments in history because of AI that we're really seeing a change in the steady state, and not only a change in between 2 very similar steady states. Now, this I would like to point out, which is very interesting regarding your presentation. And now, in the interest of time, I would also like to forward the presentation to Professor Margot Matsuda from the University of Poznan, but she's now in Krakow, as she already said just before we started. But Professor, the floor is yours, and if you could please share your thoughts.
Thank you very much. I just try to, because I uploaded already the presentation, the only thing is that I'm not sure if I can, yes.
We are seeing the presentation now.
Oh, very good. Okay, good. So thank you very much for the invitation. It's a really honor for me and a pleasure. It's already the 2nd time when I can present during this kind of conferences, which is organized by Professor Ricardo Sichel. So once more, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm from Poznan, Poznan University of Economics and Business, and I'm working in the Department of Management Accounting. So I have classes with students related to financial accounting, management accounting, cost accounting, reporting, and so on and so on. Well, I was asked, in fact, to prepare the presentation concerning exactly the ChatGPT by Professor Ricardo Sichel, and I tried to do it the best I could, because in fact I have to admit that I wasn't very interested in ChatGPT in general, and in fact because of this demand, I had to explore a little bit the area which was totally unknown for me. I have to admit a little bit skeptical for this kind of tools, and normally I don't use it. So it was really for me extremely new thing. But Maria Curie-Skłodowska said that nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood. So I tried to understand firstly, what is it exactly, this ChatGPT? So my presentation is a little bit about ChatGPT, and firstly I wanted to present it. Maybe most of people know exactly what it is, but I was really not in the context, let's say. So this is a chatbot that produced human-like artificial intelligence generated content based on the input it is given by a user. And obviously I create the account, and I tried also to put some contents, how it works. In fact, I was quite surprised that it wasn't, in fact, exactly introduced in 2022, because I thought that it was at the end of this year. But after I learned that it was a little bit earlier when it was, in fact, developed. So this is, let's say, a deep learning technique that works through some terabytes and data concerning billions of words in order to just create the answer to the questions, to the prompts which we try to enter. This is an interesting thing that when I try to discover a little bit, it's not so easy to use it, I think, because in fact it's very well, it's quite logical, let's say. It's maybe not technically, let's say, complicated, but in fact when we want to receive let's say an answer on a concrete question, we really have to be precise when we try to answer this ChatGPT about something. We have to give some constraint, we have to give some context, we have to give some roles, because if not, it very often gives us not a good, let's say, response. This is what I saw when I was trying to check it. As I said, I was quite surprised, in fact, that it was already launched in 2018, that there was first version which was released. But in fact, I ChatGPT when it was already version 3.5, and honestly, I didn't check the version 4 because I know that it's not free. So I only checked the options which I can get from the version 3.5. So it's true that since its launch, ChatGPT has gone viral as a human-like chatbot, and that which was very, very fascinating for me, it was to realize that it got 1 million users after 5 days. So, for example, I tried to search some statistics and some, let's say, comparison, and I found this chart, which is quite interesting, for example, for me. For example, think about Twitter, Facebook, Spotify, Instagram, Netflix, I don't know, this kind of platforms and this kind of application, which for me are very, for example, known. And they really had to have a time to got this 1 million users, while ChatGPT gained it in first week. So it was something which was very interesting for me, for example. And also the thing that ChatGPT website currently receives something about 1.6 billion monthly website visitors, which is also a huge number. And they say that estimated, let's say, active users, it's 100 million. So it's really, really, let's say, used by people. So it was, like I said, launched in 2018. After this version of 2000, so ChatGPT 3.5 was developed, but they say that the last version, which I didn't check, so it's only what I found about ChatGPT, can respond to using up to 25,000 words. So in fact, we can really receive, let's say, a long document with a large piece of text, and we can really, let's say, having a long conversation without losing a context, without losing much more information. It's currently supported in 161 countries, according to this Open AI. However, except some countries like China, Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Venezuela, Afghanistan, and Iran. Mainly it is used in English language. I tried only in Polish. I tried also in English. I tried the Polish version and the English version, in fact, but it does understand 95 other languages. So we can really communicate in Spanish, in French, in German, in Polish, and so on. It has no access to the internet. So in fact, it is restricted to some information which is just gathered from its training data set. I also find the information that the moment the time of training, it was only something about a month. So it was also for me quite interesting information. What can we do with it? Well, they say that we can use it and for work and for personal purposes. And we can, for example, do some copywriting, translation. We can try to create webs. We can try to write some resumes or cover letters or another emails and so on and so on. We can try to do some summaries, which I also try to do it. I mean, I just put 2-3 articles and checked how it goes if I ask for the summary, for example. What I was thinking after about it, it was also how we can use it at the university, and from this point of view of the student, and from this point of view of an educator, of a teacher. Maybe I will go to it directly, and after I will come back. So I was also speaking with my students and asking if they really use it, because I have to say that I never. So I did it because I had to do, and I wanted to check how it works. But for example, my students say that yes, they, for example, wrote the emails to professors or some former emails, and I was wondering about this, that maybe it can be really useful for them, for example, because well, I'm from this let's say generation, if I can say something like that, that I was writing a lot of letters. I've just moved this summer from one house to another, and I found really, let's say, thousands of letters, postcards, and so on, which I was writing, which I was reading when I was adolescent, and then during the studies, and so on. I also checked some emails from, let's say, 15 or 20 years ago, and I was quite surprised also that, for example, when I was during 1 year in Paris for the Erasmus moment, and I was also on a contract for 2 years abroad near Geneva, that I didn't use the phone because it was very costly at that moment. So I really wrote a lot of emails, and it was very easy for me. It is now even easy for me to write anything. That's true also that I did my French philology, so I also have this philology, let's say, education. But even if I was all the time writing something, and for example, now when I speak with students, they say that they don't write anymore. I mean, they just they phone, they do some little text, some little SMS, even not. They just record a message and they just listen to it, and they communicate in that way. So for them, mail can be really something which can be complicated. So for example, how they do it, they just do a prompt like write an email to my professor, like for example me, Mr. Matsuda, ask her about this, make it, for example, a nice email, and they do it. They can also try to do some assignments, some homework, let's say, thanks to ChatGPT. And here there is my point. It is ethic, it is not ethic, it should be like this, it shouldn't be like this. Can we do something against it? If we should do something against it, if we have just say, okay, it's the reality, we have to admit that they will use it. So maybe not encourage them, but maybe we should just tell them that, okay, you can use it, but try to use it in a wise way. I don't know. I think that they said also something about creating presentation. During my classes, we don't need it, but they have some subjects when they have to prepare a presentation, for example, for a course, for lessons. So they also said, for example, that they use it for it. How about us, educators, let's say? Well, responding to some difficult emails, I don't know. I just put it, but I'm not sure. I won't use it. Creating, improving slideshows, maybe. Also some presentations, for example, for our classes. Well, I'm not so sure about it as well, maybe, because I'm not very, as I said, I'm a little bit skeptical, but also I'm not very, how to say it, I don't trust as much to let's say, ChatGPT, because when I did some for example, ASG and about non-financial reporting, I just found that it gave me some response that I know that they are not okay. And besides, I also found some let's say some answers which were not totally truth, but I also found one let's say discussion about that somebody found that ChatGPT tried to use the article which didn't exist at all. So that's why I say that I don't trust as much. That's why I prefer to do myself, let's say, my slides and my presentation and so on and so on. But maybe we can try to use it, creating, improving our, let's say, some exams questions, exams tasks, exams in general, or creating some case studies. This is also what I try to do using this ChatGPT. So, for example, for creating some exam questions, I just asked him to, for example, create multiple choice question. I gave him some options and some concepts, and I asked him to just do a few of them in the same way with for example, with 4 option as a response. Or I try to also create a case study. Just I gave to ChatGPT a few articles and ask him just to prepare some questions related to it that we can after use it during the course. the lesson. Well, yeah, maybe we can do it. Yeah, maybe we can do it. So maybe there are some, let's say, ways when we could use it. Well, I believe that we will do in a wise way, and we will check every response which will be given by the ChatGPT. Concerning the students, I'm not so sure that they will really do, let's say, the deep research, let's say. This is what I also found. It was the limitation of ChatGPT. And it is said that, like I said, this question of hallucinating, so about producing some answers which are not true, that which make any sense, let's say, and that we can not, in fact, verify if it's true or not true. We have to really dig and search if the answer was right or not. Then changes to input phrasing using the same prompt, for example, multiple times. Scanning the tool, a user could phrase a question in a certain way, and the model could claim it doesn't know the answer. So, for example, it could answer, let's say, differently. Well, it could be like this. Then I know also that ChatGPT can also, let's say, overuse some phrases, some notions, some even sentences, and also some ambiguities which it can give us. So, well, there are some limitations of this ChatGPT. During preparing this presentation, I also found an interview. It can be seen, but I wasn't sure if I can upload it or not. Well, it's on YouTube, and I found it. It's another, let's say, from Google. He had, I think, 75 when he was retired, and when he stepped back from Google. And I'm not sure if it's because it should be artificial, but I don't see the first part of the slide. But it should be artificial intelligence godfather. So Geoffrey Hinton, who was asked about a few things concerning ChatGPT and artificial intelligence in general by journalists from BBC. And he said stuff like this: right now, they are not more intelligent than us, as far as I can tell, but I think they soon may be. So this is the question: where is the limit? How far we will go with that, and so on. Then he said also, we are biological systems, and these are digital systems. And the difference is that with digital systems, you have many copies of the same set of weights, the same models of the world, and all these copies can learn separately, but share their knowledge instantly. So it is as if you had 10,000 people, and whenever one person learns something, everybody automatically know it. And that's how these chatbots can know so much more than any one person. But he was also adding some something about security and so on. So he said that at least we try to think about ethic, about security concerning the artificial intelligence. And during doing my research, I also found some I think interesting articles. Because well, the first one, which was quite interesting, it was the general one, I would say like this, because here we have 43 contributions from experts in different fields like marketing, information, hospitality, tourism management, nursing, and so on, education policy. And they speak about the let's say, it's some kind of discussion, let's say, about ChatGPT's capabilities. to product, to suggest, to give us all this, let's say, contents concerning this kind of research area. They also speak about limitations, about some, let's say, all this, let's say, bad sides of using this ChatGPT. And after and after I tried to search a little bit more about accounting in general. I'm not sure if Thomas maybe found also the articles as I read, but for example, I found one about artificial intelligence copiloted auditing, and it's a quite interesting article where it is shown that we can use it in audit, that there are 3 tasks, because they checked the 3 audit tasks like financial ratio analysis, text mining, and journal entry. And they try to let's say, show that we can use it, and that this copiloted, let's say, so that this ChatGPT is like support, that it can be used in really doing some, let's say, audit task. I also found something about accounting in general, how we can use it. And it was a little bit what I also said already, maybe in my presentation, that we can use it in education, then you can use it in research, then you can use it also in this professional auditing. And really, there are some, let's say, good arguments. They say that yes, maybe we can really use it, let's say, in education, also by the students, but also by teachers. I wanted to show you also this article, which was also very interesting. It was about, let's say, comparison, in fact, what ChatGPT can do, and also the student performance. Like it is said here, using data from foreign countries, from 186 institutions, the researchers compare ChatGPT and student performers for questions concerning accounting assessment and textbooks and banks. And in fact, they found that, well, ChatGPT was a little bit better than the students in answering the questions and doing the task. Well, I think that it is, let's say, how to say it, we cannot pretend that it's not. So even if I'm skeptical, for example, it's obviously only my opinion. Even if I'm skeptical, I know that it is, that, for example, I think that my students will use it. Maybe in our domain, not as much, because, but I think that there are some other, let's say, subjects during their university career when they will use ChatGPT more and more. Like I said, for preparing the presentations, or for doing some case studies, or for even answering the question. Well, lastly, even my son, who is now 13, had a homework, and I was just searching some answers for him, and I wanted to add him in preparing the presentation, because it was also a presentation to do. And I was searching on, reliable, let's say, websites. But he said, "Mom, we can try ChatGPT." Then my husband say, "Try BART." And I said, "BART, what is BART?" And I've realized that it's not ChatGPT only. There are only other let's say, I don't know, platform applications. I don't know how to call it, but there are, I think, a lot of them. They will be thousands of them. So we will be in the center of it, and we have to be aware, especially as the teachers, when we try to, for example, check the assignments, I'm a little bit maybe worried about the thesis, because, for example, now I will start a seminary after 5 years of break. Let's say I have a few students on the bachelor studies, and I'm thinking if they will use ChatGPT to write the thesis, or they will just go to the library as I did and try to search in articles, books, and so on. I have no idea. I cannot even answer this question, but it's just for let's say, enhance the discussion between all of us. It will exist, and we have to deal with it. This is what I will tell maybe at the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor. Very interesting. Just a couple of issues to point out during your presentation, which are quite interesting. I think the first point is how ChatGPT, for that matter, was viral in adoption over when it was first launched. And comparing to other technologies, it was absolutely amazing to see it. Just as I mentioned after the presentation of Professor Eickhoff, that it was absolutely non-linear, meaning that you weren't seeing incrementally 100 new customers every hour or every minute. We were simply seeing something exponentially happening. And just to point it out, in comparing perhaps to something we saw 2 years ago, 2 years ago, we are seeing a whole hustle and bustle regarding metaverse and what was meta going to be like. And maybe we will all be living in a meta place or in a meta university. And ChatGPT seems to be fundamentally different, meaning that it was exponential in its adoption. And as the graph you show later, you showed during your presentation clearly demonstrates, it there was a huge pickup. And even though this pickup in ChatGPT did come down a bit, it's still widely used. Many months after it was the first original hype. And as you correctly pointed out as well, there are multiple instruments for generative AI, and perhaps this was quite interesting from your presentation. There's a big issue in what is the input that you put into the ChatGPT or generative AI in the beginning. Meaning, this is much more relevant perhaps than anything else, because this is what relates the whole university complex to this new instrument. And I can say, at least from my side, for instance, to write statistical programs or econometric programs, ChatGPT is a huge advance, because you know what you want, you know how to put the input, and you get something that will give you an answer. Then you can handily test, and you can just put it into into the software and test if the code that ChatGPT wrote to you is right or wrong, is giving you the results that you think you should have or not. Perhaps this is a little different from, for instance, asking the chatbot for a bibliographic reference list, where it can easily come up with some information, as you always also showed during your presentation. But very interesting on the possibilities and also on the issues that arise from the use. So, Professor Thomas, I would like to, as we say here in Brazil, roll the ball over to you for you to play, even though you play volleyball and not soccer, but the metaphor works in the same way. So please, if you could share your thoughts on the topic.
Yes, thank you very much. I think I'll go to PDF file. Probably it will be safer for all those disappearing windows. So I'll just share the screen with you. Okay, well, let me see. Okay, the whole screen. Yes, and hopefully you will now in a moment see the whole presentation. If it is fine, then I will continue. So, bom dia, and thank you very much for this invitation to the conference on artificial intelligence. But do we actually comprehend artificial intelligence? That's the topic of my presentation, because I'm 100% sure that everybody, including politicians, celebrities, business leaders, and us, know exactly that artificial intelligence is this representation of the cognitive skill of a human being in analyzing complicated problems. And this is done by replicating our decision-making problems in a form of neural network and training this neural network, so finding the links between inputs and outputs in the process, which is called machine learning. I'm sure we all know that. Do we actually? Do we know what we're talking about? Do we know what we are teaching? Do we know what we are promoting? And do we actually promote things in a responsible way? Well, let's find out. I do not want to say I'm an expert in AI. I teach information technologies in finance, IT project management, and a few other courses which make me think about technologies. I thought, well, let's just ask questions today, and let's present answers of experts first. For experts, well, there will be university professor. We all trust university professors, do we? We will have also the tech person, the technology expert, tech geek. Well, they know the best what artificial intelligence is. And an artist who knows the business quite well because use AI tools. Plus, for comparison, why not? ChatGPT was always an option, so I try to use ChatGPT as an expert. In the second part, I will present some reflection on the Ernst & Young report on AI adoption by nearly 500 Polish large companies. What business leaders want from artificial intelligence, what employees think artificial intelligence is doing. Is it really so? And then I thought, well, who's the better expert than the young people, the so-called Generation Z? Because they are going to spend the rest of their life with artificial intelligence. So let's ask them, and let's ask what they think about it. I asked 125 students with whom I work in our IT courses. So let's go on and see, starting with experts, and let's dive deep into the parallel world of artificial intelligence, like in Matrix. So first of all, well, what does it mean that artificial intelligence is changing the world beyond recognition? Well, the artist said, we learn to create tools whose mechanisms of action we don't understand. Well, we get results, we are happy with results, we don't know how it happened. Okay, that's an interesting point. ChatGPT made kind of a derivative analysis here and said, well, the chat is, the artificial intelligence is changing the way we work, live, communicate, etc. The tech expert said how it's something bigger than that. It's just the next gen Picasso of innovation. Very, very smart thing. It's not just about making your toaster smarter. It's about creating cosmic shift. Well, that was a little bit exaggerated, but let's see if this is actually true in some time. Okay, then I ask another question to those four experts. I just give you three because there's limited place on this slide. So, are we as the mankind able to keep pace with artificial intelligence? The professor who knows the technology the best said, it is not a tool, it's an intellectual collaborator. Well, that's smart to say, and we need to really fuse all our knowledge and our skills to somehow be able to talk to AI in a, I would say, informed way. Well, the tech person said you can't simply really race with the turbocharged race car if you just have a skateboard, which obviously says that probably we're going to lose. And the artist who uses the software said, in every discipline where AI has been successfully implemented, humans lose. Like in chess, no chances to win. Poker, no chances to win. Maybe combat piloting, combat aircraft piloting, probably you're losing again. Okay, maybe another question. Are we still needed to develop those algorithms? ChatGPT said quite probably just reassuring that, yes, humans bring creativity, critical thinking. The tech expert said, we are using the powerful tool. It's in our hands. And the professor said that, in fact, all those algorithms are conceptualized by us, by human beings. Okay, so question number 4. Which professions will be replaced? Because I started to worry a little bit that we don't need any professors, any teachers, any accountants, business people. So the artist said, probably being worried a little bit, that in fact it is not the profession which requires low level of expertise, but on the contrary, in fact, the artificial intelligence is able to replace those professions where some cognitive skills on a high level are needed. ChatGPT was probably more reassuring that still we need to cooperate and everything's going to be fine. And the professor in the university way of speaking said we need to reevaluate the occupational roles and skills in the wake of technology progression. Okay, so the last question. I know you are very much into law and regulation, so maybe regulation is the problem that is here in the advancements of technology. So the tech geek said we don't need the bureaucratic code, it slows down the whole process. The artist said, well, you can't regulate things that are everywhere. You can't regulate the metrics. And the ChatGPT, yes, we need to work through this in a collaborative manner. Well, I made a little bit trick on you because, in fact, you were looking into the answers of free chats, free bots. So whether it was ChatGPT or the tech person, the professor, it was all created by the artificial intelligence. Whereas the artist, in fact, is an artist. He's a famous Polish photographer and video producer. Interestingly, at the same time, a professor of quantum physics and an expert in relativistic quantum information theory. And he looks like a typical professor in Poland, of course, as well. So it's a question of trust. Who do we trust? Do we trust actually the artificial intelligence, or we need to put a face on artificial intelligence? I said, that's a technology expert. My name is Tomasz, and I'm here to help you. Of course, there's just a bot behind me. So I would like to point out that, in fact, in our responsible way of talking about the artificial intelligence, we really need to just deal with the issue of trust. Would you like to trust the AI doctor when they give you a diagnosis for what is the problem with your health? Will you trust AI lawyer if you have a difficult problem to solve in a legal world? Would you trust, for example, AI teacher to teach your children? Would you trust AI professor at the university, or you would prefer to have the flesh and body in front of you, the person who's actually, with all their weaknesses, perhaps somehow more reliable? So that's the first question that I want you to reflect on. The second, what the business expects from us. For example, may we have some kind of a Skynet system that is going to connect all kind of systems in the world, as it was depicted in Terminator movie. Actually, as you remember, Terminators were all to kill mankind. So who knows whether sometimes the crazy ideas of some business people will not just turn against us. I once again took some quotes from people who are influential business people in Poland. Where is someone from Ernst & Young, and he says that modern business cannot evolve without tools based on artificial intelligence. But we need to work comprehensively, otherwise it is going to be a disappointment. Then the person from the bank said that AI is transforming not only the tech world, but also the culture of the organization. It's helping us. we're going to have the tangible benefits for customers, business, and the economy. Oh, that's great. Whereas the person from the company that is actually developing AI solutions, mostly for a customer relationship management, said, for SMEs, this is like a Spider-Man's costume. We have extra superpowers with AI. So it is going to give us a lot of benefits in terms of automation, creation, analytics, etc. Okay, great. So that's an absolutely great vision. So how the companies approach to this topic? Well, according to this analysis made by Ernst & Young, in Poland, 17% of companies intend to develop their own AI-based tools within the next 18 months. 35 will use third-party providers, 25 next will use both solutions. So in general, that is nearly 70% of companies are interested in AI. Sometimes they are already in the process of implementation. Some aborted for unknown reasons, to me at least, but they are there. They want to be in the wave of those who are putting the label AI inside to their products. The second thing is, what functions of a business those business leaders see as very promising to adopt AI technologies. Customer service, yes, of course, we really love to talk to bots. They're always very comprehensive partners. The most typical question that you hear is, I don't understand what you're asking. Can you rephrase your sentence? All right. So, but of course, technology is developing, and soon we are really going to talk to another sentient being. Then sales, etc. It's good to see that maybe law is not here so much, that legal procedures and procedural cases are only in 6% mentioned. So as for you, for specialists in law, there is still some hope, but not for everyone else, probably. An interesting thing is, really companies invest a lot of money in artificial intelligence. Those who are using those technologies, they're even doubling their budgets. So there is a market. There is a market. If there's a market, there's marketing as well. If there's marketing, there are big promises. So, well, what about people? What about us? What about the human resources, so to say? And is AI anyhow a threat to us? So, well, as for employees, nearly 90% of employees, according to this research, thinks that AI is going to be beneficial to the company and to them. And management is too slow. We need to have all those technologies in place. Well, okay. Well, what about staff reduction? Is it not a side effect that we need to think about as well? Well, companies are just trying to make us a little bit more relaxed. We were not planning any reductions. Maybe we make your employment a bit more flexible, whatever it means. Maybe project-based, maybe you're working shorter. Or maybe you're just disposable element. Well, who knows? It's difficult to ask those questions and get really straight answers, but we need to be aware of that fact. And the last question to the companies. So what about work organization? Maybe AI makes our work better. Well, most of companies will not consider any specific changes in the coming 18 months. Somehow, there is also this threat that there are some flexibilities, maybe some reductions. People count that maybe we need to work less and earn that much money, but it's against the principles of economy. Why should you be paid for being less productive than the artificial being? Okay. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to pose some questions which sometimes are either made by people who are only thinking about the ethics, and they are in general a little bit without the understanding of the technology behind it, or they are ignored if you are only promoting technology but you're not thinking about circumstances. We need to be somewhere in between as people from the university, from the academia, who can't just simply flow with the stream without asking where we're flowing. Okay, so what about the young generation? What about their future lives? So, what the generation Z thinks about their future? Is it going to be RT duties, free CPOs helping them in all respects in their clumsy way sometimes, or maybe not? So I ask, first of all, my students whether they understand the concept. And a majority said yes, we strongly agree with this statement. We know what artificial intelligence is, what machine learning is, deep learning, neural networks. I think I will pose a question on the final examination just to check if it's actually true. So they know things, probably, okay? Would they like to know more? Would they like to learn something in their studies about artificial intelligence? Yes, definitely. So strongly agree they want to know more, which is good, because knowledge is always the solution to any doubt. And I would say there is never enough learning, and we are learning the whole life. And this is also some kind of like an evolving algorithm somewhere there in our neural network, in our brain, that is trying to somehow recompose the melodies we know for years. But what topics they're interested in? Like, what is AI? Well, not so much, but how it works, how it can be implemented in various domains of life, how it could be implemented in business. That is the major issue. So let's learn about that. Let's learn about opportunities. Let's communicate those opportunities to our students. Let's be really the partners to the generation Z. Well, I also asked, because I knew that I was to present here about legal and ethical aspects, how much they are willing to learn things about that. Well, not so much yet. Probably you need to understand first the problem, and only then you are thinking about regulations, ethics of the whole problem. Okay, well, have the students used the AI applications? I don't really mean ChatGPT only. AI in general. So search engines are also propelled by AI now. And, well, a lot of people recognize that. Chatbots like ChatGPT, well, nearly 4/5 did use. Generative creative software. Well, ChatGPT is somehow the creative software, but we also have systems that create pictures, music, well, all kind of, I would say, human capacities are somehow structured now in the form of neural networks. Language processing, like translation, that is definitely also the application which some students used. Even advisory services, like what shall I buy? I very much like one of the answer, because I also have open question here. Like, I'm asking ChatGPT what to write to my family every week, because they expect an email from me on Friday for the week. Well, that was just. Have they used yeah. And some well,
Sorry, Thomas. Thomas, I think you're breaking down a bit. If yes, it's not just for me. Do you hear us?
Yes, I do. Matthias, do you hear Thomas?
No. Okay, so I believe Thomas
I hear
had
you, but I don't hear Thomas.
Oh, yeah, now the connection broke down. So let's just wait a bit, and he should reconnect soon. But I would just starting from the middle, then regarding the comments in the presentation, I was wondering, while Thomas was presenting the results of the business survey regarding ChatGPT, if we could ask ChatGPT what he thinks, or where or how he thinks he would be more useful for businesses, which would actually be quite an interesting outcome, given that he does not generate new content, but rather just reproduces what he already knows, as Professor Matsuda pointed out in her presentation. Perhaps we could ask him what he thinks regarding its own capabilities. And of course, given that we are, as Thomas also pointed out, in a setting of a university of law, of a law university, that the issue of regulations always pops out at some point, meaning that we are seeing an exponential rise in the adoption of a new technology, and this exponential rise in the use of new technology will naturally bring on new challenges regarding how to use it, when to use it, where to use it. So if we go to the media, there's a lot of generative AI that's being used to produce perhaps fake images or real images that are simply changed to make a certain point. So Tomasz, I was just commenting here on your presentation, and just to run it through to you, my comment, and then I'll let you carry on.
Interestingly,
What
I heard you all the time, but probably somehow the transfer from my side was stopped. I don't know about it. It was difficult. So I reloaded the
sure.
matrix.
Sure.
Okay, so I don't know in which place I stopped. So I will continue from the moment I believe it happened, if that's not a problem.
Sure, no
Okay.
problem. What I was wondering is if we be and what I put forward here for to the other presenters and to who is watching us is whether it wouldn't be interesting to ask ChatGPT what it can do for businesses in the same way that you ask businesses what ChatGPT can do for them. If we couldn't pose the same questions, perhaps it will bring some interesting results.
I think so, and I believe it's going to be for the moment quite, I would say, unsatisfactory if you ask the 3.5 version, but 4.0, it's a little bit more useful in this respect. Okay, so whenever it stopped, things like this happened. Probably I was just telling too many bad things about the technology, and the technology wanted to strike back. So I shared the presentation with Ricardo, and I hope that you could also share it with everyone else after all. So students are using the technology in their work, but I also ask about their attitude, whether they're passionate or curious. There are mixed feelings, probably as well. They are not so much anxious or terrified. Somewhere, that's interesting to me as well. Okay, I also asked them about what they think it will be the effect of artificial intelligence on the job market, and who's safe, who's not. So IT specialists seem to be safe. Accountants, to my surprise, safe as well. Teachers, all right. Well, who is not necessarily so safe? Well, we see some responses, like, for example, artists, but also lawyers, politicians. We would like to have AI politicians. That's interesting to say. I'm not going to comment on all of that. You just get the presentation. You may have your own thought on it. Okay, well, who is then benefiting in general on AI? Well, and my students believe that global corporations first, and large companies, not so much SMEs or governments. Individuals are also not bad, but not the nature. The nature probably will, as always, pay the bill. And finally, what would the world in 100 years look with AI beings just close to us? So some students believe that AI will be indistinguishable from us. They will partner with us. That's quite a positive thing. But maybe we are going to persecute AI beings like in Blade Runner. Or maybe they will become hostile to us, like in Matrix or the Terminator in general. If you look into the art, probably mostly artificial intelligence is negatively depicted. But it is just because it sells better. Some also believe that they will take over control of the human beings, or maybe that we are two separate species. I also did one thing. I collected a lot of opinions from There's 125 students, and I use AI to represent their way of thinking in a kind of the network of ideas. So what actually my students think about, and they think that AI may help people, that it's a little bit related to their future and jobs, something that it's dangerous or helpful. So these are some feelings about AI, that in general we need to have some opinions and knowledge of AI, and so on and so forth. This is also the way how we could use advanced artificial intelligence to represent the structure of our thinking in a kind of a network. So I do apologize for some technical problems, and if it affected the presentation, I was not aware of that. But I want to make you aware of one thing, that none of the text which you see in English was written by me. I used all kind of systems to translate my Polish text just on purpose to the English one, using ChatGPT, DeepL Translator, Grammarly for grammar check, and KHCoder for some language structuring. So if this was understandable, and if you trusted my message, you somehow trusted also the artificial intelligence which was behind this whole presentation. So keep thinking about AI, keep reflecting on it. Only if we actually think and reflect, we could be the users of this tool with some kind of responsibility and accountability. So thank you very much for that. And now I think I'm back, or am I? And muito obrigado.
Thank you, Tomasz. Very interesting. Just a quick note regarding the second last slide that you put up regarding where will the world be, or where will AI be in 100 years. And what strikes is the yellow bars in the middle are the largest one, meaning that we don't know. We simply don't know. There are some sort of opinions in every direction, but it's still early days. And if we only had 5 days to reach 1 million users in ChatGPT, thinking about the next, 39,000 days will probably be a bit difficult from our point now. 3,900,000 days will be a bit difficult from our point of view. So that's an issue worth thinking. And just another very small, from the perspective of economics and microeconomics in that matter, even though it's not my field, but I would say that the potential for SMEs are much bigger than perhaps the potential at the first stage for global corporations or large enterprises, meaning that the productivity gains for a company that perhaps has 5 employees, if it can add ChatGPT to customer service. Or I was talking to an entrepreneur here in Brazil about 2 weeks ago. He was talking about inventory management through artificial intelligence, and how it would probably change the life of thousands of small or medium enterprises in Brazil, only to be able to use a digital instrument. Because up until now, maybe many SMEs were doing the whole inventory management by hand. And now you have the possibility of using technology to your benefit with a very small added cost and a huge productivity gain. So just this issue also struck me during your presentation. But with that, I would like to thank the 3 professors for the insights, and I would like to pass the ball over to Professor Sichel for the closing remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Felipe. Thank you, Matthias, Thomas, and Małgorzata. Thank you very much for your presentation. And Małgorzata, you just mentioned something which I make a remark, which is about people do not write anymore. People just use cell phones, computers for short notes because they don't read it. We see it at all time at universities. Students don't read much. So if you don't read, you cannot write properly. And that's a tremendous problem. I think ChatGPT, as Thomas said, and AI will be a challenge for the next 2-3 years, and we will be overwhelmed by many, many new informations, and we must be always able to understand how it works and how to be used. So thank you very much. It will not have time for many discussions because we are already late. So I will just change for the second panel. The second panel is about AI challenges for the academy and research. Thank you, everyone. And I will just have to change the places. Natalie is still online, and there will be two other professors which are waiting in the waiting room. Thank you very much. And user technology is quite useful because we are in Germany or in Poland, but all together online, which is a tremendous opportunity which was given us after the pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you again. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you once more. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So I think we are all here for the second presentation. George, hi, thank you very much. Anna, Professor Anna Bialik, thank you. Natalie, Dr. Natalie, thank you very much. We had a problem with the first panel. It took a bit longer than we thought. And now we'll start the second and last panel for today. It's about AI challenges for the academy and research. I would just like to tell you that Professor Smir Mai from Hungary won't be able to attend this conference. So the speakers will be Professor George Contreras and Professor Anna Bialik. I haven't thought about the idea who would be the first. Let us say who would like to be the first one to talk. Professor Anna, would you like to be the first? Would there be any
No,
problem?
I can wait. I can be the second one.
So, Professor George, thank you very much for your presentation. You'll be the first to talk. Let us say, since there is one speaker less, you have about 30 minutes to talk and show us. Natalie, would you like to make some introductory comments or just wait? It's up to you. Now the floor is yours.
No, just hi everybody, and thank you for the invitation. Just like to, I know that we don't have time for questions from the last session, but as a doctor, because I'm a doctor and physician, and actually AI, I think that at least in medicine, AI comes to help, but to not substitute us. And then in the end, I talk a little bit more. I don't want to be too long because we are late.
George, the floor is yours.
Yes, great. So I'm trying to figure out how to show slides using this platform. One of the challenges in the Academy and Research is every conference.
If you just go there, look to the bottom, there is a plus sign. And in the plus sign, there is a written presentation or anything like that.
Yes. So then just give me a moment. It appears I have to then upload these in some way. Let's see. Okay. So, okay. Now do you see some slides?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. And let's see, people's pictures are in the way. I wonder if I make this any bigger. No. Okay, well, good enough. So, well, thank you, Professor Sichel, for inviting me to be with you and to speak at this conference. It's obviously a very important topic. And in the academy, especially in the legal academy, we have been thinking about this topic for about a year now. And so we're still relatively new in dealing with it, but now we have had about a year of actual experience in the classroom and doing research to see what's happened with with AI and these new tools. And so I'll focus my comments specifically on legal education and research. First, research itself for academics, then teaching, our pedagogical considerations that we've wrestled with in trying to add AI to the classroom. And then finally, probably one of the trickiest issues is evaluating students. What considerations need to go into a world in which students have at their disposal these advanced technology tools. Right? And so academics do research. Artificial intelligence is clearly something that can be very beneficial to us, or at least should be in the future. As I think others have pointed out today, large language models are not research tools. They're not designed to be research tools. They have ingested large amounts of information from somewhere, but that usually does not include proprietary databases of information, and proprietary databases are often what we need in legal research, whether these are of legal materials, cases, statutes, and so forth, or articles that are published in journals that are not free to use and access, or even newspapers like the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or The Economist that have a paywall, right? Most paywall content is not yet used to feed the AI models. And so while a lot of text is available for language processing, specific information from proprietary sources is not. Therefore, AIs are not very useful, at least that we've found, in legal research, certainly not for current materials. It's also quite poor in terms of citations, and I think we are all familiar with the problem of hallucinations, where you can ask an AI to cite articles or cases, and it just makes up something that it thinks sounds reasonable in the situation, but which really does not exist. A number of lawyers, as you probably read in the news in the United States, have been sanctioned by courts for preparing briefs using ChatGPT, which has generated fake case names that are cited in the brief, cases that don't exist. And when the opposing party has pointed this out, this is equivalent to fraud within the court system, and so quite bad. I've played around with this quite a lot myself and experienced, many fake citations that ChatGPT and others will generate when asked questions. So this is not a reliable source for research yet. It will be soon enough, right? So for very rudimentary research, maybe something that a student is interested in doing, this is fine because it's sort of like Wikipedia. It can give you a general idea of a field or a topic, but again, nothing that will be considered authoritative or citable in academic work. That being said, even for academics, there are some uses that you could put the current tools to use for. One of which is synthesizing cases or statutes, to the extent that these are available in the public domain, and to the extent that there are public commentary, blog posts, law firm articles, and so forth that are simply available on the web. These programs are good at synthesizing and summarizing them. So if there's a well-known case or doctrine or statute it will provide you a reasonable summary of what is out there. And this can be quite useful to get research started and to create maybe an outline for doing real research. It also can, in the future, perhaps be useful even to formulate normative recommendations and arguments in legal briefs or in academic articles. I think the technology is not there today, but someday, probably soon, we'll get there. And then the final issue for academics is, well, what about writing articles? We've seen, of course, plenty of stories about articles written by AI programs that have been published in journals of various kinds, allegedly academic journals. These articles, we of course have a problem around the world with low quality journals as it is, whether articles are written by AI or not. And I think that this just adds fuel to this fire, the problem with low quality journals. At this point, it's still relatively easy for an experienced academic to realize somebody is on a motorcycle. It sounds like in the background. It's still fairly easy to recognize articles that are written by AI because they really don't make that much sense. Even student papers, which I'll get to in my third portion of this presentation, it's fairly easy to recognize when they are generated by AI. All of this will change. I think the tools will get increasingly more sophisticated, and soon, even the best will be able to be fooled because AI will simply take our own words and arguments and knit them together into papers and articles that sound plausible. The question is whether they will produce any useful analysis or results, and the answer is at a low level, probably. I think it will be some time before any creative analysis is actually done using AI. But again, that may also just be a matter of time. So I think at the moment, in my view, a fairly minor impact on academic research, except for perhaps some labor-saving work at the beginning to help formulate a research plan. So, preparing students, though, I think is more of an issue because unlike the academy, in which our research at least is intended to generate new ideas and thought and synthesize current issues and problems and create new and novel analyses, the work of a lawyer is often much more routine. And there has been for some years routine legal work that can be effectively done by automated programs. And I would say maybe Professor Sichel, if we could ask everyone else to go on mute, because there is definitely some background noise coming across the audio from traffic and so forth. Yeah, that's better. Thank you. So routine tasks have already been eliminated to some degree, and there's always concern about whether this eliminates jobs for lawyers, and the answer is probably, but maybe that's not a bad thing because these are routine work that if they don't require human thought and ingenuity, well then there's no reason that humans should be performing this work. This is the argument that has been made since the Industrial Revolution, that machinery will replace humans in performing all sorts of tasks, from putting together cars to making computers and so forth. And the answer is yes, that will happen, but humans should not be subjected to routine and boring tasks that can be performed by a computer. So the drafting of routine legal documents, things like ordinary leases, contracts of minor significance, pleadings in cases that only require you to add the names and parties. There's no reason that a lawyer should do this. Even more so with document review. In the United States, our discovery process is really out of control. Discovery in large cases involves the production of literally millions of documents. And a few years ago, if you walked through the offices of a large Wall Street law firm, you would find in the interior rooms with no windows, large rooms full of unfortunate recent law graduates who are doing nothing all day except scrolling through screens of emails that are produced in discovery to try to find something of use to a case. This is boring work. It's work that clients get charged an extremely large amount for, yet can easily be done by a computer, by an AI. And in my view, it's good riddance. That kind of work is not work that lawyers should be doing. And if this means that the legal profession will shrink as a result of eliminating jobs that are replaced by AI, well, then I don't think that's a terrible thing. And this is something that we need to think about very carefully, because it may mean that our student bodies will shrink, and the legal education field will shrink, and nobody likes to talk about their own field shrinking, yet this may be the reality that we are facing. That being said, for the lawyers that remain, that are doing more creative and innovative work, AI can be very helpful. It is a good tool for synthesizing regulations, case law that are in, that are available to the public. Very boring to have to search through thousands and thousands of cases for material that is relevant to your case. The search engines Westlaw, Lexis, for a long time have been using natural language models to help searching for legal citations and cases. AI this generation will make that even easier and better, and we've already seen an improvement that it can help. This review can also help with things like patents that are going to be reviewed for infringement analysis. Patents are very long, very complicated. This is exactly the type of document that AI models are very good at reviewing. And now this is all to say that these types of tools are inputs to a lawyer who then can use the output in legal analysis. But again, sort of an initial sifting of large amounts of information is very appropriate for these types of tools. Depositions, there's been a lot of talk and speculation about whether AI programs can actually conduct depositions, particularly of expert witnesses. Expert depositions in U.S. cases, at least, are often fairly routine. There's not it's not the type of on your feet, quick thinking legal back and forth that you will see with more important fact witnesses. It's really just intended to get information out from the expert into the record. This would be something fairly easy for AI to do. We also have the wonderful jury selection process in the United States, where lawyers spend days literally looking over the background of jurors to determine who will be biased, who will be the most favorable to their case. Jury consulting firms already exist who use computer models to help with this. This can be now, I think, done much more cheaply with AI tools that are available to everyone. So the work of the legal practitioner can be made much more efficient with AI tools. And this is something that our students need to become aware of. In fact, graduating from law school without knowing about these tools, I think these days is really a disservice to our students. It's something that they have to know about in order to be effective practicing lawyers. The most speculative area in which AI is being experimented with are in more strategic legal decisions and questions, such as predicting the outcome of cases. Lawyers are often asked, okay, what are my percent chances of winning? Do I have a 50% chance, a 90% chance, or a 10% chance of winning this case? And lawyers, some are quite good at making these estimates, but these, again, are just based on human intuition. Artificial intelligence programs can become quite good at placing odds on these types of outcomes, just like they can predict the outcomes of horse races or soccer matches. They definitely will be able to predict case outcomes, I think, with increasing accuracy. And then the final question is whether AI will be able to structure coherent legal arguments in more than routine cases. The answer is so far not yet. It's just not good at this. This is not logical thinking. This is repetition based on probabilities. And so applying complex legal doctrines to factual situations has not been successful yet, but again, in the future, may well be. All right, so that is what we have to prepare our students for. How do we do this as teachers and legal educators? Well, and first is research. So the research issues that we talked about at the beginning, students need to know about this. And an AI can be, again, quite useful, helping to sift through large bodies of cases or statutes to help prepare a research plan. But as I mentioned before, this is not a substitute for legal research, especially because citation is not handled well by existing AI models. But on a more pedagogical note, we as instructors can use AI to develop our teaching, our lectures, our lesson plans. If we are less familiar with a subject area, then it's not our area of expertise. We're often called upon to teach classes that are related to, but not squarely within our expertise. These systems are quite good. They're like the Wikipedia, but a Wikipedia on steroids that can quickly give us some background on a case or on a doctrine, again, sourced from public materials. It can help us to find readings that might be useful for our students. Again, the ability to sift through millions of documents is well beyond our purposes. Now, there's been, of course, a great attraction to the idea that AI could be used to help grade student work and student papers. So far, we haven't found this to work very well. But certainly possible, especially if we, as the instructors, create the answer rubric, the answer key, or at least a good model answer for an essay. An AI program could be taught to review student work and at least figure out how many of the points are mentioned in the student essay and how thoroughly they're discussed. And that can help us as a grading tool. I would predict that in the next year or two, at least from our standpoint, this would be a possibility. And then finally, the AIs can be used as teaching assistants for students in their individual study. And we have heard about this happening already, and it's quite useful. A student who encounters a difficult concept, a case that they don't quite understand, in the past, they could go to teaching aids, outlines, Wikipedia, and try to figure out what's going on if they don't understand it from the lecture or from the assigned readings. Now, they have a much more personalized tutor at home to whom they can ask questions. And we've seen scripts emerge in which this can work quite well. Students can ask ChatGPT, can you please explain the doctrine of, whatever of a patent exhaustion to me, and an explanation comes. And then, can you please help me understand this case better? and what is meant by this sentence in the case, and then can you create some sample questions to help quiz my knowledge and test my knowledge about this case. And the programs are actually quite good at doing that. Therefore, this is something that we as instructors should encourage students to do, and not penalize them for engaging AI in this way. And so then in the next couple of slides, I just wanted to show some samples of the actual language that my university has developed for some of these areas. So our university has guidelines on the development of class assignments using AI. And I'm sorry the text is a little bit small here, but this is to help instructors to create class assignments that may utilize AI, but cannot be done simply using AI, right? I mean, the AI ChatGPT can be a problem in teaching because the lazy student can find ways simply to use it to perform their work and perform their assignments. This does not then achieve our educational goals. Students need to do more than simply enter queries into a program and hope for answers that they can turn in. So written assignments, can rely on materials that are not available, as I said, in proprietary databases. This is not something yet that AIs have access to. Asking students to respond to visual content in addition to written prompts is useful because AIs are not very good at interpreting images yet. And this often happens in legal cases. You can certainly tell a large story with pictures and get around the easy AI answering. Talking about current events, AIs generally have a problem the more current material is, because it just hasn't been included in the text that they have been trained on. Of course, asking students to reflect on their personal experiences, creating assignments that require students to submit audio material, video, drawings, diagrams, things that are not just text output, having assignments that build on one another, and then finally, again, requiring citations. All of these things can help to create assignments that will help students to learn and demonstrate their knowledge, but make it harder for them to use AI as a crutch, as a substitute for their own thinking. In our syllabi, we also have started to include language that prohibits the use of AI tools without authorization. Again, this is a boilerplate that appears in the syllabus for every class. In my own classes, I have included this statement, especially in classes that involve writing, that I welcome the use of artificial intelligence to aid students to prepare for class. I ask the students to let me know what they're doing, again, for my own information and education. But then in the next point, we qualify that all written work must be prepared by the student without assistance, and that using an AI program to draft, outline, or prepare any written work is a violation of our student honor code. And so then this gets really to the most difficult question here, which is how do we evaluate students now in a world in which AI is becoming pervasive? As educators, we want students to learn the legal doctrine, and not just the legal doctrine. We want them to learn the skills about being a lawyer, how to formulate arguments, analyze opposing arguments, respond to them, and make a persuasive case. We don't just want them to become what I call prompt jockeys, people who are adept at writing prompts for ChatGPT and its successors. So how do we evaluate their performance in a way that requires them to display that they have learned these skills? Well, of course, oral discussion is one way to do this. we rely on in-person, real-time discussion. It's very difficult, and this is the best way to demonstrate knowledge. Is somebody asks you a question and you have to answer it in real time. You can't write it down, go back to your dorm room, ask ChatGPT, write down the answer, and come back. You do this real time in person. Of course, the drawback to this type of assessment and interaction is that it eliminates the usefulness of distance learning and asynchronous learning, as universities have found more and more revenue that is available through online learning and asynchronous learning. Asynchronous learning being classes in which the instructor simply records a lecture, and then students are required to post online some sort of responses or answer questions. Those are easily submitted to a chat GPT or AI program to circumvent the student actually doing the work. So I think universities will have to balance the the value of the education they're providing with these revenue opportunities for distance and remote learning. Take-home examinations, by the same token, I think we introduced take-home examinations many years ago as a way to relieve pressure from students. You aren't sitting in a classroom with only 3 hours to complete a demanding examination. You have 24 hours. You can take it home. That I think is becoming more and more perilous as the tools that students have access to at home become more and more sophisticated. And so I will no longer assign take-home examinations. In addition, even when examinations are offered in class, we have to limit access to the internet, meaning that the students should not be able to, in class, in an in-class examination, use or access either Wikipedia or any of these AI tools. We have most of the commercial examination software that's out there does have a lock internet option that we have used. And then finally, with respect to papers and written assignments, of course, every school has an honor code, but there are always students who will try to get around the honor code. There are a number of software programs that will detect or try to detect whether paper has been submitted and whether it's been generated by AI. But these are imperfect at best. Our IT department tested many of these, and they're somewhat informative. So GPT-0 and so forth, there are half a dozen of them out there. I would not use them as definitive, but certainly could be used as clues. One thing that I have adopted in my classes for student writing, for especially classes where a large paper is required, is that the student needs to show progress every step of the way and discuss it with me. So an outline, a literature review, a first draft, all of these things to be developed and built upon in a final paper. And then finally, to examine the student orally about their paper and their assignment at the end after they've submitted it, to demonstrate that they know that they wrote the paper, they know what it is about, and that they are familiar with all of the contents. So again, sorry to be long-winded about this. It's such a rich and a deep topic. There's so much more to say, but that is the end of my presentation, and I will turn it back over to our moderator.
Natalie, would you like to make any comments? Please feel free.
First of all, congratulations, George, for your presentation. And as a doctor, and especially physician, when you brought that point talking about research, it really took my attention the way that, as I write many articles, And we know that to make an article really acceptable, let's say like this, based on the results that we have, we must work in a lot of data. And when we use AI for this, it helps us a lot because it makes our article much more, let's say, help me, Ricardo, confiável. In Italian, affidabile.
You make your data is more. You trust more on the data you get.
Yeah, it's more trustful. Okay. Yeah, so I really like that point. And just bringing back the previous session, it's because you, as a lawyer, it was asked us, would you agree, would you be happy to be helped by an AI lawyer or an AI doctor? I think that AI comes to help us, but not to substitute us. Because as I say in medicine, for example, I work with, especially with skin cancer, and skin cancer is the most common skin that a human can have. And I work with dermoscopy, of course, and I have already participated in some studies using AI for diagnosis of skin cancer based on an eye. And I also do reflectance confocal microscopy, that it's an in vivo study, so it's a histopathology study of the tissue, but without the necessity of removing the tissue. So the identification of the cells and architecture is made directly on the skin of the patients. It makes our accuracy go much higher. So also AI is being introduced in reflectance confocal microscopy, but I know that as a doctor, I need to have empathy for the patient. I need to deal with case 1 and case 2. Everybody will react the same way. So I think that the real contact, the personal contact, will be substituted by a machine. But in my opinion, my team comes to help us a lot. Ricardo?
I just pressed. Sorry, I just pressed the wrong button. I switched the camera off and not the microphone. George, I think what you said is quite interesting, and I was just wondering about AI and how do we use it at university. And the point is, I'm just having a nice experience here in Brazil at the law school. I'm teaching the part of civil procedures, and civil procedures are many time based in case law. So you must have a case to analyze. And I think it's much useful for the student to go back home and analyze it at home with some data books than staying at the university and try to give an answer in 2-3 hours without having the proper means to make a decent research. So the point is, how do we expect to prepare our students? Are we going to prepare them for the university, or are we going to prepare them for the future life, for their professional life, where they are going to use AI as one more way to work? So I think we should balance all these aspects in order to understand, in order to fulfill the tasks and the objective of the university, in order to prepare students for life. And this is the main struggle that I'm now seeing in my daily work. And without any delongs, I would ask Professor Anna, please give us the Polish point of view. Let us make compare it with an American. Let us see how in Europe and in Poland, how do you deal with this problem? Thank you very much for your participation.
And I should upload my presentation, yes? Or
yes, you should upload it to come for me as one presentation, and I will then put it online, and afterwards you can do it by yourself.
Okay.
but I don't know why I have to press a button in order to.
Okay.
complete the
I
upload.
will manage. I hope. Okay. One moment. Okay. So I upload. I hope. Yes, I managed.
Just a moment, I didn't see anything coming now for myself here. So let us see if. Just a moment. Not this.
I hope that you have.
I haven't. Just a moment. Here it is.
Okay, great.
Now here it is.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity to share my academia, University of Warsaw point of view of this revolution in digital economy. So from our perspective, we since the mid-March this year, we have a few discussions in Digital Economy Lab about the challenges related to AI in education, as well as in research and in the changes in the market. If you could change the slides, it will be helpful.
I think you can do it by yourself.
Yes? Okay,
Yes.
great. Wow, great. Thanks a lot. Okay, so at our Faculty of Economic Science, the point of view was that we feel at least partially responsible for this revolution. Why? Because we provided some courses on data science and also additional data mining courses as a master degree level. So we feel that we are in the middle of this revolution. However, after this, we have a problem. And not only because we have to adapt to this new world, but also because ChatGPT provides a lot of mistakes and misleading answers. So this means that we have to properly try to adjust to this situation. And this way, we started discussion with understanding what exactly ChatGPT is, or Bing AI, what is it? And for us, it is an interviewer trying to predict what we want to hear. It guesses what we want to hear with internal limitations, and it doesn't matter that AI knows a lot of languages. However, still there is a lot of mistakes, and there is a lack of provision of data sources, of the sources of information. So this means that from our perspective, ChatGPT finds combination of words and sentences that look likely based on data it has read and understood. So this means that we should be careful what exactly we received, what is the answer that we received. And this means that it isn't simply a number, a human being. It doesn't have its own personality or its own views. However, rarely expresses oppositions regarding our questions, just providing us information dryly, has no current access to information, no access to internet. This means that the data source, the information that is in this ChatGPT's black box is based on the sources till 2022 without at least in the free available version, with no access to more current information, without no access to internet. However, when we are focusing on Bing AI, Bing AI has access to current information and sometimes opposite to provide us answer on asked question. So this means that its algorithm tries to communicate with the user in a more friendly way, and therefore more often expresses oppositions. Therefore, we should understand how we can benefit from this. And of course, this is first large language model to reach a large mainstream audience. Its rapid adoption and exploration by the population at large has sparked a wide range of discussion, also at our academia, regarding its acceptable and optimal integration with different areas. So this means that, of course, we are familiar with such solutions as Elicit, Synod, Rightful, or Grammarly, and we can treat this as useful support for our research or writing purposes, and also to understanding the essays written by students from abroad. However, still we have the opportunity to realize that sometimes even this large language model is unable to generate text in response to our prompts. So this means that our students should also feel that always they will receive a right answer, that they should check time by time if this provided answer is really acceptable and it is true. So this means that we need to make our students understand that they have to critically think and open eyes used this new tool based on artificial intelligence. So we also look at job market. Why? Because we feel that we are responsible for preparing our students, our absolvents to get into a job market. So this is important to not only to answer the requirements of employees, but also to make our future students, future pupils that graduate high school ready to benefit from our education provided by University of Warsaw. So this means that we should throw away some previously cited publication that pointed that psychologists and geographer professions will not be such occupations that will be automized. However, now we realized that there are a few publications that asked a question if T in Tech Cabal or T in ChatGPT thinks that they replace the therapist. And also that we can see the opportunity to use chatbot therapy despite cautions, and they attract clients that feel enthusiasm, that can speak with machine instead of a real human being as a psychologist. And also even this choreographic production can be produced, can be constructed by ChatGPT. So this means that our word is for us still a question. if we can make our students ready to enter in this job market. And therefore, we also refer to publications that a few years ago, or even updated version from current year, pointed what kind of professions did tasks without artificial intelligence influence. So we think that we can find and offer such professions that can be safe of this influence of AI. However, it isn't such easy, because even budget analysts or actuaries or financial examiners or accountants can be automated and supported by AI. So this means that maybe we should think if universities are still needed, are their role and their existence is still required for a future generation. And of course, next step to adjust to AI, it isn't limited only to universities. Why? Because not only university at all cannot solve this problem. Why? Because we cannot force a young generation to need to study, to follow the knowledge. Why? When they are not ready to use this knowledge on a real market. And therefore, this means that we cannot force anyone either to study or to choose our university or other universities. That position, prestige, rating among employers are not given once and for all. So this means that we need to adapt to these changes. And we understand that we are at least also previously only responsible for signaling. So this means that when we prepared last generation to open job market, we provide only the signal that our product of our education production is more productive than others that didn't fulfill this education at our university. However, now it is at the time for new type of worker. So we should understand that we have to prepare our graduates to collaborate with artificial intelligence. Why? Because the competition of on the job market will be higher. From one side, this will be workers that are of general intelligence and able to complete large projects because they provide evidence that they complete the studies at a university. However, we can also the generation of trial and error method adoption with hacker mindset, some products of internet communities that proving open source knowledge. So this means that the competition on the job market will be higher and will be rising over and over again. And we feel that we are at least partially responsible for this revolution. Why? Because we provide very familiar courses on data science and business analytics. So we taught our students algorithms and also not only Python, but also SQL and R programming, but also machine learning and unsupervised learning, web scraping, and social media scraping. So we provide this knowledge that make our graduates to make this revolution, to add to this digital revolution at the market. So this means that we feel at least partially responsible for this revolution. Our students choose data mining program, not only data science, but also they try to understand the new reality based on digital economy. We cooperate with Google, and based on this cooperation, we teach our students how to use Python, how to use this open source data, how to provide text mining and internet sources analysis, not only in Python, but also in Google Cloud platform. We make them understand what are these opportunities provided by internet marketing or data visualization in Tableau. So we make them ready to make this revolution. Almost all our students completed courses on data analysis in Microsoft Excel and VBA programming. So they are ready to even to work with big data in Microsoft Excel. So this means that they feel that they prefer to learn tools to understand new solutions instead of just microeconomics or macroeconomics or theory. So we should also be responsible for our product. So this means that they are less theoretically prepared for decision makings, but they are more fulfilled in skills, quantitative skills, data analysis, and this means that this is also the worry if they will be able to interpret their results of their research. Okay, so going further, when we think about the decision if we should make ChatGPT or other large language method systems available to use in education, we should be worried that even if we like other universities banned students from using ChatGPT, it will not be a good solution. Why? Because our competing universities adopted policies in their syllabus to encourage students to engage with these models, and as long as students disclose it. So this means that we should highlight students not only the opportunities but also the threats of use this open source ChatGPT solutions. Why? Because sometimes these answers that they will receive are not right answers, and they should think that it isn't trustable or always true answer giving machine, but there is a risk that we received the not full answer or not complete or with mistakes, and this means that it isn't ready to use this as a support for all teachers. First of all, we should make our students understand that there are a risk that they will receive the wrong answer. And next, of course, we should realize that using ChatGPT, even in quantitative analysis, increases the likelihood of plagiarism, even if we ask only on a plan of structure of future thesis. So this means that it is more time-consuming requirements for teachers to check what they really received, because sometimes, even if we ask ChatGPT for references, ChatGPT provides us with totally misleading, not existing references to not even written positions of literature. So this is important to make students also realize that the answer that they will receive will not be the final answer, that they should start another questioning what they received from ChatGPT, and this way checking by asking different questions to ChatGPT if they can improve, then can correct the answer. And this means that we can expect that if without any supervised cooperation with our students, when we are waiting for a master thesis or a diploma thesis, we can receive something that is based on not existing literature. So this is a huge risk. Of course, this is helpful. However, this means that it is more a risk that being sure that we receive what exactly we need to receive and what can help us. And even before introducing on the market the ChatGPT and other LLMs in research, there were some examples of using such machine learning in academic publications. However, it was rarely. This means less than 5 papers per every 1 million of papers. So this means that we can easier identify what was misleading, what was the negative few papers that we should exclude from the sources. However, now it will be much more complicated and difficult to detect these papers with just spotting so-called torture phrases. Because AI-generated version of an established phrases used in specific disciplines for certain concept and phenomena can be also used by human being. So this means that we can provide incorrect assessment of this product. So we should feel also more responsible for our evaluation. And just to try to conclude my opinion about this problem, this means that we should notice that this detection applications seem unreliable, and this is a problem for editorial boards of many journals, because they will not be ready to detect and to distinguish these papers that were written by artificial intelligence. And this means that even if we ask our authors that are submitting papers to our journals about any statements that, of course, AI isn't an author, and therefore we requires disclosure from the authors if they and how they use this support by artificial intelligence. We should realize that not always it will be working as we expected. Why? Because sometimes authors can use artificial intelligence support, and after this they can reuse in different tool the product from the first chatbot to make this less possible to detect that it was constructed by using artificial intelligence. To be honest, many editorial boards of journals are already using this support of artificial intelligence, for example, in searching for suitable reviewers, in initial screening of submitted manuscripts, and also in writing up final decisions, sometimes negative decisions from individual review reports. And we should realize that this is a problem, that we already use this, and this means that it isn't easy to stop using this and expect from our authors that will not use this also. So we should pointing the opportunities, the positives of usage of artificial intelligence in education. We should notice, especially in international environment, international group of students, that there are some positive externalities. First of all, this is leveling the playing field for students with different language skills, in advantage their using of large language models, and helping them adding the fluff to writing, or structuring and summarizing their existing text, and creating even the first draft of letters of application with specific requirements. So this is, of course, some support for such beginners with less fluent linguistic skills. However, we should reflect that it requires double or triple checking the product provided by ChatGPT. And what are the challenges for our usage of ChatGPT in academic life? First of all, we should understand that even if we teaching our students how to programming using, for example, Python, coding in Python, the natural tendency to test prepared generated code to see if it actually works will disappear. Why? Because students have been encouraged just to employ these methods and to ask ChatGPT to test and verify their accuracy and verify the generated code instead of just thinking and rethinking where they made a mistake in generating code. So this means that, of course, the speed and proficiency and also the productivity of IT staff will be higher and increasing with future generation, adjusted generation of GTP and other artificial intelligence tools. However, we as a society recognize the loss in just the ability to think, to criticize, to critical assessment our products of our work. So this means that this is new reality that will be more open for people that are able to adjust to this usage of new technologies, instead of just some not followers of such changes in new technologies. So this means that the challenges will be also related to information literacy. So there will be some exclusion observed on the market. And also we observed that we have more students at bachelor level than on master level. And even our good or the best students that completed bachelor study program are thinking if they are ready exactly after completing bachelor studies to enter this master studies, because they feel that they can learn themselves by using the open source, by using the hacking approach. So this means that maybe in future also generations will be just stopping their education on the bachelor level instead of just to enter the master level. And also what we should mention is the positive impacts or challenges that should be treated as a unique feature of ChatGPT that is believed to be bi-directional communication, which allows expert users to interrogate the system and help refine the output. So if they will be able to correct the provided solution, this can be beneficial for all users in the long run. However, we should promote this style of using, of cooperation with such artificial intelligence, that we communicate and that we adjust the received answers. And asking researchers to disclose what part of the text is influenced by ChatGPT seems to be unenforceable. Why? Because even now, if there are other norms and plagiarism systems that force authors to state that their work is provided and completed alone, still provides some misconduct or some part of plagiarism. So this means that maybe we need another solution instead of just this disclosure guidelines, if we used or not this AI support in our research. However, of course, good practice is to benefit from this opportunity to use this ChatGPT and its unique challenges. However, realizing the risk and opportunity to receive these misleading answers and references that even not exist. And I hope that we realize that some countries are not benefiting from ChatGPT. For example, ChatGPT is made unavailable by Open AI in countries like China, Russia, Ukraine, Iran, or Venezuela, and this means that it cannot be trained by researchers or users from these countries, and so this means that we not received feedback from researchers who are based on this in these countries, and thus might be biased towards the view of researchers based in specific locations. And at the end, I would like to show you some graphs. First graph is providing the picture of crucial risk related to using ChatGPT, and of course there is misinformation, inaccuracy, plagiarism, and also false news, fake news, and the challenge is related to transparency, to accountability, to integrity of information. And the last picture provides the benefits of using ChatGPT, and here we see the efficiency, the progress, saving of times, the speed in knowledge, this brainstorming, this innovation, even ideas, writing assistance, convenience, productivity. So this means that there are pros and cons on using this ChatGPT. So to conclude, this is fortunately my last slide. There is still much to discuss about this optimal and ethical uses of ChatGPT and other language models, of this responsible use, and only responsible use should be promoted. And this means that we see something like a double-edged sword that bringing the promise of more efficiency, creativity, and free time for all, however, risking spreading bias, hate, misinformation, and furthering the digital divide between those that have access to technology and are fluent in its use versus the ones left behind. So this means that to navigate this uncharted territory, this future exploration of its responsible use should be recommended. However, grounded in principles of transparency, of equity, of readability, and of course, the rule first, don't harm, just to make this world better, to improve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. It was quite interesting and full of details, your presentation. I could watch it again in order to get some more piece of information which I couldn't get at the first one. But what I can conclude is that in the last two pictures you show us, technology by itself is neutral. Well, technology is not good or not bad. It depends on how you use it. The computer by itself, the software by itself won't be harmful or not. It depends how people use it, and this might be an expressive message from your presentation. How do you use ChatGPT? How do we avoid plagiarism? How do we avoid fraud and fake news in a world where fake news is everywhere, and fraud and misusing of artificial intelligence is also very, very often used and in order to harm people. And the point is that, as George said in his presentation, and it's, I think, one which was said it's the first panel also. The point is, once it's published by the internet, you can never control how many people will be going to see it or not. So it's now 12:30 in Brazil. I would like to thank you for your presentation. It was very important for us here at the university to have your concepts, to have your opinion, to be in touch, or at least to have the opportunity to listen to researchers from Europe and from the United States. Thank you very much. I wish you all a happy new year. We are now by the last day of November. Tomorrow it will be December the 1st. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and all the best. And I hope that we keep in touch next year. And for the students or for all other people in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, we are going to start tomorrow at the Federal Court of Justice, presential and even online, both possibilities. This is the development from after the pandemic 19, and we'll start at 9 a.m. Brazilian timetable. Thank you very much, and hope to see you soon in the next presentation. Bye, and have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.